In this episode of the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast, we're talking if labels are even necessary anymore. A lot of labels are cutting staff, cutting artists, and we're saying that artists probably need to start thinking more and more about going independent. Stick with us. We'll tell you what you need to do. And on this episode, let's go.
Arkatech Beatz.
What's up, everybody? It's the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. We are your hosts, platinum producers, Arkatech Beatz. I'm Juggernaut.
I'm Mike Trauma D.
And together we make this super duper group, Arkatech Beatz. If it's your first time here, make sure that you're subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bells. Every week we get together to talk about the music business, things that are happening in the music business, and teaching artists how they can navigate this crazy music business. But before we get started, do some housekeeping. All of our books on the music business are available at arkatechbeatz.com, right? So use those things as resources, and you can get 10% off, of course, if you're buying everything, buying all 4 books. We're going to leave the links in the description. So, Mike, we want to get into this thing today. You and I were having a conversation earlier about the labels and the streaming companies and how everything is just kind of coming into a snowball effect to make it seem as if, you know, artists are going to have to really start to figure out how to navigate things on their own, and how record labels are really evolving into distribution houses with promotional and marketing services that are attached. So the traditional record label is literally dying, and in 2024 to 2025, we're really recommending that artists shouldn't be looking for record deals at all. They should be looking to really do things independently. But let's get into it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, in this day and era, the typical record deal is not what it used to be honest with you. You know, I remember when that is all people were striving for. You know, the upcoming artists got to get a deal. I got to get a deal, you know, in hopes that once they get a deal, the record label will take it from there, and, you know, stardom happens. But apparently that's no longer the case. You know, that the game has turned into then record labels looking for artists who are already popping, you know, because they weren't doing any artist development. So they were signing artists that were already popular, already doing the legwork. So now it's starting to change again, where, you know, the artists, the actual labels are turning into more of a just a straight up distribution situation. And that means again that the artist is going to have to do all of the work. So that makes you wonder, well, then if that's the case, then what's the sense of, you know, being with a label? You know, we thought that you sign your deal with a label, we were going to get this huge money up front, you know, right. and then the record label can handle the promotion, the marketing, you know, knock down doors, shake hands behind the scenes, the radio, get us on the radio, do all of these things. But now it's just like, no, now you got to do everything yourself. You got to come up with the money yourself. And I think the most troubling thing of all is that artists can no longer just be an artist. And I think because of that, the music is being affected. So the artist has to concentrate on being a person who markets. They gotta concentrate on the promo. They gotta concentrate on being content creators. They gotta worry about networking and meeting this person and getting. They gotta do the whole grind themselves. And it never really used to be like that. And because an artist has to focus on all of these areas, they have less time worrying or concentrating on the actual product. They have less time creating the music, you know, trying out new things, being creative, you know, getting that inspiration to make some good music. And, you know, Jug, I think that's one of the reasons why music is where it's at right now. It's not as creative. It's not as it doesn't speak to the soul as much. You know, I think that's where we're at.
So I think you're making a really, really substantial point, because there's a lot of people in the space that are talking about artist development, right? And they're saying artist development, and people are screaming that from the mountaintops, that artists are lacking artist development, and that's why music is failing right now. But when we take your vantage point that you just said, that it's not necessarily about that, is that artists just can't focus on music solely anymore.
Right.
Artists have to wear so many different hats that that's what's causing the music to suffer, and that's not really an artist development thing at all. It's because now what we're asking people to become, um, damn near business machines, right? Because now we're talking about having to manage your promo, manage your image, managing your videos, managing everything that has to be created. You have to be the sole person that's creating all of that.
Right.
So, it doesn't even leave room for artist development, right? Because I would say, and I would challenge them, I would say, hey, the artists of today are more are able to give us more in terms of content aesthetically than the artists of yesteryear, right? The artists of
Right.
yesteryear wasn't going to be able to record their own videos. They weren't going to be able to manage socials. They weren't going to be able to go live all the time.
Right.
They weren't going to do all of that stuff.
Right.
They were just doing the music, and the label handled all of that stuff.
Right.
You know? So I would say that the artists of the day are more equipped at that level, but
at what cost?
Right. But it's at the cost of the music, because they can do all the other stuff. They can do the socials, and everything else is good, but they can't. The music itself isn't prioritized, because we know that now we have to deal with the socials and getting that stuff to the people in that fashion. So that's what's being prioritized, is now the mechanism of promotion and not really the mechanism of creation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, you know, even down to just taking a picture. You know, you had a photographer back in the days that just focused on that,
Yep.
getting the angles right, setting everything up, and the artist just need to show up, take the picture, and be gone. I'm going to the studio. Now the artist has to, you know, let me get a photographer, or let me find out what camera I need, you know, and pretty much do it themselves. Because if you're an independent artist, you may not necessarily be able to afford certain photographers. And even if you're able to afford a photographer and you get the pictures you need, you got to figure out, okay, now that I got these pictures, what do I do with it? You know, now I have to upload it. Now I have to, you know, put it in front of, you know, certain people. Now I got to do this and I got to do that. So there's a whole nother job that has to be done. And while you're doing all of those things, you could really be focusing on your music. So that's time away from your music. That's time away from you being creative, making up what could be a possible hit. You know, so there's a lot today's artist has to do, but again, to what extent?
It's the other thing too. When you would think about an artist taking a photo shoot back in the days, they would run those photos for years. They would take that one shoot with several looks and run that for a whole album cycle. You know what I'm saying? And that would be your promo pictures for the whole time. That's not the case now.
Right.
Like if you take photos today, that's gonna run for maybe a week.
Right.
You know what I'm
Because
saying?
the demand for content is rapid. It changes every day.
Yeah.
You know, the demand for, you know, the demand for fans, the demand for consumers to constantly go to your page and look for an update, look for the newest thing. You know, I remember when we used to take photos for different album covers, and again, like you said, we would have enough material that we could actually stretch out at least 6 months to the year, or for that entire actual project.
Yep.
You know, and now it's like, no, you got to keep updating, and it makes it to a point where the artist has to focus on all of these things. How do you focus on all of those things and then have to turn around and work on your music? And that's why I think we have music that's so simple and dumbed down also, because you're trying to make the quickest thing, get that done and out the way so you can focus on these other things.
So now when we look at the labels now, and the labels are in this situation, and we had that firsthand experience in dealing with the labels a la carte, and we talked about distribution deals in the previous episode. Make sure you guys go check that out, where we talked about you have a distribution deal. You might have a 90-10, 15-85, or 80-20 distribution situation where you retain 80% and they retain the other percentage, or whatever that looks like. And then you would need to add on services a la carte.
Right.
Meaning if you would schedule your release, and then you would basically put in a request with your distribution label to say, hey, I want this marketing, this, that, and the third. And what you're noticing too, if you're noticing like the distro kids and the TuneCores of the world, they're adding those services on. It's not just like the publishing services and
Hmm.
the collection services, but they're adding in some marketing and some promo, some playlist opportunities, things like that. Um, all of that stuff is a la carte, and then you have to pay for it,
Yeah.
right? And then it's paid for from the proceeds of the records. Um, it's been this way for quite some time, and a lot of artists don't really know how to navigate it. Don't really understand that. Hey, you're going to be putting this marketing team on your project, and they're going to be doing your Facebook ads. But if you don't know anything about it, you don't know if it's being run correctly.
Right.
You know,
Right. That's the
and
thing.
and that's the other thing. And then if you don't have the right pieces of content, we go back to that again. Then your ads don't work properly. And that's a whole nother conversation and another situation. So you know, the state of the music industry, when we talk about it and we talk about how the labels are no longer necessary, is because the artist has a lot of the power right now, but the artist having the power, it's kind of like you said, it takes away from the music. Like there's no way for you guys to really, really, really be good at your music and do all that other stuff. Like there's just no way. And you're too early in your career to hire people to do that stuff for you. You don't have the income for it.
Right.
So it's really kind of it's putting us in a really bad space right now, where music is really literally going flat, especially when we're talking about a lot of urban music. Like it's like, okay, what's really the next thing? It's like, what is the next thing? It's like we're looking around and we're like, okay, where is it?
Chuck, I think also, in addition to that, going back to what you said about you have to with these distribution companies and you got to hire them, and they sometimes hire other third party companies to handle some of these things. On top of that, you really don't know what you're getting. You pay your money, and there's really sometimes you don't know if the services is actually what you're getting or to what extent. When you're dealing with third party companies, you know, it's very difficult at times to know what's going on under the hood.
Yeah,
And what I mean by that is, and I'll give you an example. Let's say you get 1,000 streams, and we're just saying this just for numbers. You get 1,000 streams, right? How do you know you got 1,000 streams? What if you got 10? What if you had 10,000 streams? How do you know that? You know, is there somebody you can contact, and then the person you contact, is that person going to be truthful and give you the right information? Is the accountant screwed up? Is the people handling your accounting, are they well equipped and knowledgeable of the system? Like there are so many breaks, there's so many leaks, and there's so many things in between you getting the right information. There's so many things before you getting the right information. You know, this person can get fired at his job, so the person handling your project no longer handles it, so somebody else is there now. You know, this person woke up this person woke up on the wrong side of the bed and decided to come to work, and it's like, I'm not doing my work today. It could be anything. Oh, somebody missed something. You know, there are times that we've seen paperwork where uh, company names were misspelled or royalties were given to the wrong person, and you reach out to these companies and say, hey, this is incorrect. I say, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I'll look into that. So you got to really be on top of your game regardless. So like this is where we're at. Like even though you would hire another person or you would want another person responsible for these things so you could focus on the music, you still in some sort of way gotta keep your eye on the prize and know what's going on. Because at the end of the day, you could be getting ripped off. You could be getting ripped off simply because someone else is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's a funny game.
So what do we tell, like, because it starts to feel like doom and gloom, right?
Hmm.
Well, what do we tell these new artists, new producers coming in? Like, you know, how do they, how are they able to put everything together to work for them? I'm a new artist. I'm coming on the scene. What is it that I need to focus on the most? And if I'm adding on, if I have to wear all of these hats, what would we say is the most important hat for these folks to be to
Well,
make sure that they have?
I'm going to say, and some people may feel otherwise, but if you're looking for longevity, if you're looking for something substantial that's going to last and can grow, you need to focus on the actual product, making sure the product is a great product and making sure that the product is going to be able to speak for you. And when it comes to music, what I mean is make sure that you have great music, not just good music, not okay music, great music. You know, I think we need that back first and foremost because a lot of times great music can speak for itself.
Yeah.
Like there's no denying great music. Oh no, that's hot. That's hot. Everybody across the board, like that's hot. Once you have that on the raps, once you have that, then there are other things to help get great music to the masses, help great music get to different places. But at the end of the day, you need to have great music. Good music, okay. Good music is only gonna get you so far. Great music, you'll be here forever. So I think that's the first thing is to concentrate on your craft always.
And if we were to go into the second thing,
Well, the second thing, of course, and I'm going off the top of the head, is you got to be aware of the current situation that you are in, and what's around. So what I would mean is, do you want to take that music and just put it on Spotify, or do you want to say, okay, let me do something a little bit more local first, and build a fan base, meeting and greeting people. So I would say the second thing is really just starting to build a fan base locally. So you could meet and greet, you could touch, feel. People will get to know who you are and know your music and be and get that relationship. Networking. I think it goes hand in hand. Um, I think you got to do these things locally before you start really um, jumping around and moving all over the place. I think you got to be able to uh, get the information of your consumers, the people that rock with you, whether it's 10 people from, around the way or in your region, 10, 15, 20 people, and start creating your own database. Have if you have a team or you have people interested in the music business that's around you, you could give them a simple job as that because certain jobs don't require certain things. Just creating a database. You go to a show, you have somebody filling out, okay, this is the emails, collecting email addresses, and then start from there. Start creating a fan base locally.
I get you. Um, I think I think for me, I think it would be the same two things, which would be
Mhm.
like you said, prioritize the music. The second thing would be trying to develop your fan base. I think the third thing for me would be for folks to really understand the overall nuance of the music business, right? Which would be your publishing, your copyrights, the main things that are right in front of us that I think people would need to know, just to make sure that you can monetize your music on the high level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I would tell folks, hey, really take some time to understand your socials. The social media thing is now the new promotional arm for anything. It's not just for music, it's for any product that's being created, any service that's being created, it has to go through social media. And for those who don't understand social media at this point, um, it's going to prevent you from reaching your next level, and it's going to prevent you from meeting your ideal customers and or clients. People have to start to understand which platform works best for them in terms of their what kind of content they create. So if you're a person that likes to make long form content, that might be more of a YouTube thing. If it's a short term content thing, that might be more Instagram or TikTok. You have to know what difference it is. And then also, you have to know how to package your music so that it can be consumed on those platforms. And making sure that you're putting your music out there and letting the algorithm find the people that want to listen to you versus you trying to chase an algorithm or a trend.
I think, Jeff, to add on to that, not to cut you, but I want to make it clear that they have to do this in a way that it doesn't impede on their music creativity, that it doesn't impede on them creating the music and giving all they need to give into that. So even if you had someone on your team that may be a little bit more versed in those things, then that's good. But you should have some knowledge of what's going on, and maybe have weekly meetings where you guys sit down and go over these things. I think it's key to communicate with your team or whoever you're working with, so you could have a good understanding of what's going on, because these things, they can change very quickly. you know while you're being creative, you may want somebody that part of your team that could focus on some of the social medias, and it could actually help you in certain areas where, hey, I need to be in the studio to make this record, just handle this for me. You need to have something like that. It'll be beneficial. But if you don't have that, then unfortunately you're going to have to be able to have good time management.
And wear that hat. That's what I'm saying. Like that's in the beginning when there is nobody to help.
Hmm.
You're gonna have to learn it. Like there's nothing that you can. There's no way to. There's no way to get your music where it needs to get to. And there's the discovery mechanism that Spotify used to have is really no longer there, right? Because Spotify used to be a discovery mechanism that you can find new things,
Right.
and that's not the case anymore, right? Now what we're looking at is stuff that's curated for you. It's
Hmm.
no longer a situation where it's just a discovery that you can find this song that's out of obscurity that just comes into your purview. That's not the case anymore. So I would say for folks to really, you gotta, after you've been trying to perfect your music, you have to spend some time on the socials and finding a social media platform that works for you.
Hmm.
That may be live, that may be YouTube Live, that might for some people it's Twitch. For some people it's Kick. Some people are able to stream and grow their audience. You have to find the medium that works for you and what's going to resonate with your audience. So that is going to take a little trial and error. And
Hmm.
again, you put your stuff out there and you see who the algorithm finds for you, because you may think that your audience is this, but the algorithm may say your audience is really that. You know what I'm saying? And then you can feed that audience, but you need to this is what the case. This is a few cases where you do need some data
Right.
to be able to make the right type of decisions that
And
you
you
want.
got to focus. You got to focus on the content that your audience is gravitating to. You know, you can't spread yourself too thin. You know, if the algorithm is picking up, if you like to do this kind of music and the algorithm is picking that and it's putting you in a spot and you're getting fans, that now is not the time to say, "Hey, I'm going to showcase my painting skills." You know, like if that's what you're trying to do, then you may need to open up another social specifically for that, so that it could, so when the algorithm hits it, it could focus on painting and go to audience and fans of people who want painting.
And that's a jewel, because a lot of people don't really understand that. They would think that you can put everything under one channel, and in our experience, that's not true. You can't put everything that you may do artistically, creatively, under one channel. It does need to be segmented so that the algorithm knows where to show your content.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that we have to set things up so that people could watch your stuff back to back to back to back. So people may want to say you discover an artist and you say, okay, I like this song and this song is in a particular vein. Let's say we're talking about let's say gritty hip hop, and you like this song, and the rest of this artist playlist has similar, you know, tones and so similar things. You're more likely to be binged if everything is the same, versus if things are all over the place. It's like, I like this song, I don't like this one, I don't like that one. So you have to know how to put things and categorize things
Hmm.
so that they can be consumed one after the other, if that makes sense. So that's why they tell folks to keep your thumbnails the same, keep the colors for your videos the same, you know, so that people can kind of get used to what they're seeing and what they're hearing
Right.
over
So
and over
but
again.
they know that when they want to listen to this, they know exactly where to go to, and
Yep.
they just sit there and just get all what they need based on that.
Yeah. If I'm going to Benny the Butcher, I know what I'm gonna get from that. Right. And that's what I want today. If I want um, you know, Method Man, you know, I know what I'm gonna get from that. Like, you know, like this is just, like you said, different things that people are into. And you have to try to find a way to make sure that your music and your content is can be in the, you know, can categorize itself.
Right.
That will help you in the algorithm more than anything else.
And if you want to do anything else, you know, and I said earlier, like painting, you know, whatever, or if you have, you know, a weed farm or
Right, right,
whatever
right,
it is
right,
you
right,
got
right.
going on, then you got to create. And I've seen that. I've seen artists create a separate social specifically for that, you know, and the algorithm kicks that off for that
For
audience,
that, for that
you know.
audience.
And I think that's something that is missed, because I get it. It's difficult to try and manage 3 or 4 different socials, you know, per platform. You know, three on this, three on that, three on
Yeah.
that. So I get it. It gets difficult, and they do have tools that can help you with that. But you know, for the most part, you know, keep it separate. You know, you're better off, and at the same time, you're able to uh, understand the data a whole lot better. Meaning, you know who's coming to you specifically for what. You know, so if I'm playing beats all day on one channel, I know that the people who's coming to this channel is interested in these beats. Versus I'm having beats on this channel, I have podcasts on this channel, I'm cooking on this channel, I got a weed farm on this channel. Now when people come to this channel, I have no idea where they are. I don't even know how to market to that individual. So doing that also helps you um, understand your fans and what they came to your page for.
YouTube has a nice feature that you can use if you're in this. You can use a playlist feature, so you can start to categorize the videos. Like, say you're one of those people that have things that are all over the place,
Hmm.
then you can take videos and you can categorize them into playlists
Right.
so that when people do discover it, at least they have a place where they can watch all of that type of content, even if your channel is a little bit jumbled. You
Right.
know what I mean? The other social medias are not really like that. I know maybe TikTok may be able to do a little bit of a series type of thing, but for the most part, you want to be able to categorize what it is that you're doing. So for people who are just getting in, we're talking about, you know, are labels even necessary anymore? We're telling you no. We're telling you that at this point in the game, you should be perfecting your musical craft. You should be also looking to create a hub for yourself to where people can find your music. That may be a website. We do say not to. We say not to put everything on your socials. You do need to have something separate from your socials where people can consume everything just you with no distractions.
Right.
And you need to be able to have some sort of exchange, meaning uh, you're going to get some free music for some contact information so that you can market directly to that person.
Right.
And maybe either a cell phone number, like how the Ryan Leslie route goes. He likes to do the super phone thing.
Hmm.
Or in today's situation, you may need a funnel where you can give something away and collect an email address and then start to market the email address. Um, Remember, you can sell music, but music should also be used to sell other things.
Yep.
I think the most successful artists now in this day and age know that you use the music to either sell live venues, to sell merchandise, to sell memorabilia, to
Hmm.
sell anything else that you can find under the sun. You use music to sell those things, and you use your hub to do that. The artists that are able to kind of do those things together in tandem are the ones that have more longevity and are able to create a life for themselves with their music.
Yeah.
So outside of that, the labels are not here for you anymore. The labels are now they're removing staff. They're not equipped to deal with that. Uh, they're going to be focusing on a lot of the catalog music. That's what I see happening
Hmm.
because catalog music is like gold. And what people don't realize is that with catalog music, there is a predictability factor where people can realize how much money a catalog song is going to earn over time. They've got that down to a science, and a lot of these labels have made the pivot to make sure that they can maximize catalog music, and they really are sustaining themselves off catalog music. New music these days, not so much.
So let's pivot a little bit to Spotify and their record breaking profits.
Shout out to the Mizzer on that one because he was talking about that and a few other guys talking about Spotify and I agree with a lot of his takes when he talks about Spotify and the way that system is broken for artists. It's a
Mhm.
broken system. Is what you're really watching is you're really watching like a high tech robbery of, of artists in real time. Because if artists don't meet the threshold of 1,000 streams, which is maybe anywhere between 70 to 80% of the records that are uploaded,
Mhm.
and those records are monetized on the platform because they have ad
Right.
revenue and all
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So they were generating money.
They're generating money.
Hmm.
The artist isn't getting it.
So then these record breaking profits. So the money's going into their pockets pretty much.
Yeah, and that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
For people who follow us, we've kind of fallen back off Spotify for quite some time and started going direct. It's not it's not really a model that makes a lot of sense for a lot of artists. I think artists have to really start paying attention to this thing and start trying to find other ways of using their music.
I think when you're dealing with third parties in general, you have to be kind of, you have to watch them, not to be on some doom and gloom. But if a company is responsible for telling you how much they owe you to pay you, they can easily just not tell you how much they owe you. you know, Easily. And what are you going to do about it? As an independent artist who probably doesn't have a lot of cash on hand, what are you going to do? You probably don't have a great attorney, or the cost that's going to take to audit them. So a lot of these things get swept under the rug. When you're dealing with these companies, again, I would really suggest that you understand why you're dealing with them. And I say that for example, Spotify. Do you want to put all your material on Spotify? Or maybe you should just utilize them for specific things. Maybe just give them singles, or maybe you give them an EP, and then have enough saved back for your exclusive content for your own website, for the individuals that you've been networking with, the people who really rock with you, those relationships. That could be your exclusive content. Yeah, if Spotify got the EP, the 6 to 8 records, that goes across the world that everybody can access. Fine. But the people who rock with you, you're getting the 15-song album CD signed straight from the website. You're getting
Is it
this, getting
CD?
the shirt as a collectible. You
Okay,
know,
that's all.
as, as a collectible. You're getting the physical product, whereas because they're still doing the vinyls also. You're getting the
Vinyl like the
vinyl,
vinyl. Yeah, the vinyl is a new thing.
vinyl shirts. You're getting a lot of collectible items, things that you could have in hand as tangible, that you could look through, look at the credit, the artwork, and if an artist really wants to make a consumer feel special, maybe they could include them in their thank you, which would be a nice little will be kind
Yeah,
of cool.
that's cool too.
So,
It's
all of that to say that you got to be really mindful of what you're using the third parties for, because they are using you. So you got to figure out what you're going to be using them for in that exchange.
the funny thing about it is that most folks don't look at it as them being used. You're being used, like like your content is being
Hmm.
used for for advertising dollars.
Yep.
Like people don't really catch that, and once you start to really understand that, like that's really what the situation is. So I give it. I want everyone to make sure that they're empowering themselves and learning this thing from the inside out. And as we start to kind of expand on this channel, we are going to start to deep dive into these individual things and showing you the individual tools that we use to kind of navigate through these things. Because at the end of the day, it's really you against this system as an artist. It's your art, and depending on how you want your art to be consumed by your fans. How do you want your legacy to be left behind? You can't really leave it into the hands of these folks who really don't have your best interests at heart, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
at the end of the day, that's one of the things that I want to make sure that we're empowering the artists and making sure that they can monetize themselves and monetize their art.
Because at the end of the day, Jug, we still are making deals, and we're still seeing things and experiencing things. And as soon as we see them and experience them, we come back here and be like, hey, this is happening. They tried us with it, and we were able to catch it, or maybe we didn't catch it.
Yeah,
But you know,
well,
don't
we're transparent about that.
we're trying to let you guys know that, this is what happened to us, or they tried this, or so you may want to you know look out for this whenever the opportunity or whenever these things present themselves to you, and make sure that you got everything set up properly, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're being creative, you're working hard, you're doing everything you need to do, you got the audience, the music is popping, and then here comes some third party comes in here and swoops down, you know, says a couple of things to you, you sign a deal, and now you're in a bad shape. So many people are trying to get out of deals not right now. It's wild. You know,
And
some
so many people are being dropped.
yeah.
We talked about that too. A lot of people being dropped.
Now what? Now,
Yeah, and I think the artists that are getting dropped, right? And this is to the artists that were on the labels that happened to get dropped. Is because I don't think that they took the time to really understand what they were getting into, right? Like you didn't understand how to leverage the system that you're in. And that goes back to that thing that you said, like how could they learn the system when they're trying to just do music? Right? It's like you're in a situation where you're in a rock and a hard place. It's like now you have the access to something, but
mm-hmm.
you don't even understand what to ask for.
Right. So
You know?
it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Yeah, and
But
it puts us it puts a lot of us in a situation that's just untenable. Like you're going to be in a thing where I see a lot of artists like, okay, well, Jug, how do I ask for this? Or, do they even know how to send, the appropriate type of emails to put in the request
yeah,
for what you might be looking for? What's the tone of your email? How do you get more bees with honey? Like what are you supposed to say to kind of navigate this new ground? These are new spaces.
Jug.
And
It's everything you're saying is really built on. You got to think about how it used to be, where artist was an artist, and they didn't know how to express themselves in an email. There was even an email,
right.
but they didn't know how to express themselves, and they had a person that was kind of the buffer, the A&R person or your product manager, or you had these people that were buffers that kind of understood the artists and what they needed and was able to translate it into a corporate situation. If an artist wanted something, you had someone in the middle that knew how to write a good email or was able to explain it in a way, a tone that is obtained that the record company could understand and be able to, okay,
To
fine.
get behind it, yeah.
Now, when you have an artist doing all of that, I mean, we get emails, yo, what's up? I need this. And you're just like, yo, that's not how if this is something you need or want. This is not how you introduce yourself. So, again, it's almost a catch 22. Yeah, we want the artist to be able to focus on being artists, but at the same time, they have to be knowledgeable and aware of all these other areas. And if they can't do those things, they got to have somebody on the team that can do that properly. It's one or the other.
Yeah. One or the other.
Because there is no room for doing things the wrong way. You do things the wrong way, you're not going to get the results that you're hoping for.
And you don't have a lot of time to make a lot of mistakes.
You don't.
Like, and that's the thing. These opportunities are very rapid. They and with music, you got to strike while your iron is hot. Like at 1 minute you can have the song of the summer, next minute crickets.
But even in that situation, when we're talking about the record label is also at fault because what they were doing was they were signing content creators. They weren't necessarily signing artists. They were signing, okay, this person got popular on their TikTok or they got popular on the social media. They got all of these views. Let's sign this person, and then we could figure out later how we're going to market this person. And then what was happening was the person wasn't an artist, or they didn't know what to do with them, so they sat on the label. And that's why they lost so much money and had to do something with the new deal with Lucy and Grange. So
It's wild, and when we talk about that situation with Universal, and then if we're talking about what's happening now at Warner,
mhm.
because the rumor is Warner is basically being set up for acquisition, right? Like that's what people are talking about. People are saying that the son is going to be preparing for the takeover of the father, which may be a very lucrative business deal, right? Like if we're looking at it, we have this record label consolidation that happens maybe every
But
other decade. It
will it be
does
allowed
occur.
to happen? But will it be allowed to happen?
I think what happens is sometimes it may be allowed to happen if it's going to um if it's going to keep the industry afloat. I think that if it may be something that's necessary for Warner at this point. It just may not have the the resources to continue independently. You know what I mean? Like,
So it'll.
because
So you're saying there's a possibility from the big three, to be the big two?
I see that can happen. You know what I'm saying? But as long as there's two, it doesn't go against any, not a monopoly as of yet. You know what I'm saying? There
Wow.
still has to be some sort of um still have to be some sort of competition out there, some sort of regulatory thing going. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do people really expect? Like I don't know what people expect. It's like it was up to us to make better music, you know. But like you said, a lot of us got caught up in content creation. Like that's the new currency, content creation. So music takes a back seat to that, right? Or the smart people who know how to fold the two in are the ones that know how to win. But that's a skill that has to be learned. This is not something that people can just easily come out here and just magically know how to put music and content together. That is a skill that takes time to learn and finding your audience and making sure that you can do it on a consistent basis to be successful. Because with content creation, you can't just be one and done. You got to keep, that's another type of hamster wheel that has to be put on.
Question of the day: do numbers lie?
Yes. Yes. And shout out to Chad Focus. Uh numbers lie. Numbers lie, numbers lie, numbers lie. The numbers that the numbers that I believe that we see now related to the music industry are used to defraud artists.
Mm.
That's what I believe. I believe that the number that the industry has come up with to say, hey, this amount of streams equal this amount of album sales is what's being used to defraud artists. Um, I'm not talking about the ability to audit the numbers. I'm just saying that they've weaponized that ratio or metric to determine sales data, and I think is woefully inaccurate. I don't think that it's an accurate depiction of what's going on in the marketplace. But they've created this number so that there's a sustainability in terms of being able to pay artists, right?
Mm.
Because if it was higher, then it would put too much revenue back into the pocket of the artist, and it would effectively not be going back to the labels and or the streaming platforms.
I,
So
I
so
think.
to me,
Yeah.
that's like a concerted kind of mafia robbing tactic where they say, okay, we're going to get together, let's create this number that benefits us but doesn't benefit them.
Wow.
And if we have a breakout artist that does really well, it'll seem like somebody is doing really well, but when you look at the number, of billion streams should not equal that type of money.
Right.
It should equal way more.
Yeah. No.
Think about it. If you had any product in the world that was consumed a billion times, think about that.
Any product. That's,
Any
yeah.
product,
You should be well off.
you should be well off.
The wrap. It should be done. I could hang this
Right.
up and take my feet up. Be
To
done.
retire.
Yep.
There's not one single thing or one single commodity and or service in the world that can be consumed a billion times and doesn't make people $100 million or more.
Yep.
Like let's be honest about that. So artists doing a billion streams are supposed to be set for life.
Yep. So
right?
something,
Like
something,
something is
something wrong.
wrong. If you told me that an artist got a billion spins on terrestrial radio,
Mm-hmm.
how much money will we be talking about? You know what I'm saying? So something is not, for these guys to make it seem as if streaming is not, is somehow fractional compared to regular radio airplay. Like, how did you guys determine that?
Yeah.
Like, how did you determine that this is more important than that now? So why doesn't it pay as much or more? This is more important than radio. I'm sorry. It is.
It is. Yeah.
So now what are we talking about? So, I just think these are the mechanisms that are used to defraud artists. And artists are just, we're so happy to be signed, right? Because again, it's the magic of selling the record deal. Oh, this person was discovered in the dark lounge of this, and this person signed this person, and Jermaine Dupri found this person here, or in the mall, the two kids, and all the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what has been sold to us as like the lore of the music industry. Like, oh, we want you want to get signed, and I remember working with some independent artists, and that was like the goal. Hey, I want to get signed. I'm like, but why would you want to get signed? And you're already kind of doing what the label would do for you, right? But it was just the mindset of wanting to be signed. It was the brainwashing of it.
Yeah.
So once you're brainwashed into that, it's like just give it all away. And that's what's been happening, is that you see people giving it all away. They set up the mechanisms to defraud, right? If you go back to your old record contracts, like if you go back to, think about the percentages. Think about the producer percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Think about people telling you that you're supposed to get 3% on the master recording, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much is the master recording now in streaming era? That 0.003%, right? 0.000. So you're supposed to get a 3% fraction of that.
That's ridiculous.
You see what I'm saying? So when you look at these numbers, when you look at these industry standards, these things are designed to defraud artists. Period.
Modern day slavery at its best.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to wake people up for them to see it. Like, listen, like, that number don't make sense.
You've been conditioned over the years that the record label is going to save you.
And look, what happens too is that we're also conditioned to look at the people who are really successful,
mm-hmm.
and that's what's dangled in front of you. That's not the norm.
Yeah,
those are the exceptions. The Jay-Z's are the exceptions. The 50 Cents are the exceptions. The Eminems are the exceptions. Like, the vast majority will never see that level of success.
And there is a long list of artists that are signed that never see the light of day. You've never even heard of.
Yeah, never. Like, the vast majority will never see that. But it's that thing where they tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you could be the next.
Mm-hmm.
But why are we telling you can be the next? Just do this, do this, do this, give me this, give me this, give me this. Before you know it, it's like, damn, where all the time go? Where all the music went? All your music's been squeezed out of you. You know what I'm saying? And you're looking around and you're like, okay, people think that there's an infinite well of good music. That's not true. Every artist has their time, where they can produce hot stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, it kind of wanes. It may pick up a little bit.
Right.
But and I know the environment and things that are going on personally is what fuels that creativity. When those things start to change drastically, it's very difficult to create music that resonated, or it might just be a timing issue. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, a lot of people don't want to look at it like that. They just think that, hey, if I wrote a hit song in 1968, I could write another one in 2024.
Good luck.
Not likely. Just isn't. You know what I'm saying? It's just not likely. The evidence doesn't show us that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot that we look at, and I don't want to create this thing for artists. I want artists to come out here, really focus on just doing you,
Mm-hmm.
putting it into an executed format that people can consume it, and then let the algorithm figure out who your tribe is, who your community is going to be. And
Because
your
you don't
job
need
is
a big
supposed to be building that community.
right. Because you don't need a million fans out the gate.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. And people are not thinking about that. People are not even thinking about the amount of people that have comments that they don't respond to. Like, you have to make it your business to respond to these comments. It may take some time for you to get to them, but you have to have you have to realize that anybody that decides to comment and share your content, people have to think about how big those interactions are on socials. Those are the biggest interactions that someone can have, is to, one, say, hey, this is dope. To
And then
take the time to type it
and then share it.
and then share it on top of it.
Better add that person to your quote unquote street team.
Thank you. Like what people did, that it's not connecting. It's not clicking to artists that listen. It's just when a person is commenting on your situation, good, bad, or indifferent, that takes energy. That takes time. And you have to be able to cultivate that. The artists that know how to do that are the ones that now build the community. They're the ones that win long term. Everyone else loses.
Yep. Well
You
said.
know? It's Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. Make sure you're following us at Arkatech Beatz Pod on all socials. Make sure you're checking us out at www.arkatechbeatz.com. Make sure you're checking that out. Any parting thoughts? Last week we talked about Diddy, and some of those videos went really bonkers. And listen, I want people to realize that we were just reading the indictment. You know, for me personally, I've always been a fan of his music. His music has inspired me as a hip hop artist in New York. I had some of my first meetings at Bad Boys as an artist. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I'm telling the honest to God truth. And that inspired me to really focus on production, because I didn't like the way those meetings were being held. But these are the people who helped to shape, some of my earlier music decisions and taste and all that type of stuff. So I
don't get no joy in any of
no,
this at all.
yeah, it's not something that we're making fun of or anything. It's a serious situation, and I don't want people to misconstrue it as, listen, although I'm a fan of it and it's nostalgia, if there's wrongdoing being done, it is what it is. People got to face the piper for that.
Facts. I mean,
No.
that man has inspired. I know he's inspired me as far as just being a entrepreneur, like a black
Yeah.
businessman that could make it in the music business, like who was relentless in his pursuit of success, and we all grew up listening to him, and his can't stop, won't stop, just wouldn't take, just keep going at it, just want to be successful, want to make a great records, and the perfection of making great records, that was always telling to me, and so again, get no great joy in this. Overall, the last thing I would say, not related to the Diddy, but just in general, I think now is the time for independent artists. Now is the time for independent artists to take stock, look around them, and say, you know what, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna create the music I want to make. I'm gonna market it how I want to market it. And I'm gonna do it how I want to do it. You don't have to wait for a label. You don't have to be under their constraints. You don't have to be underneath their rules, whether you come out or don't come out, what kind of music you got to make. You're free to creatively be yourself. And to a sense, you don't even really have to compete with anybody but yourself. You just got to be the best version of you. You just got to put your best foot forward of yourself in the music you make. And you do that, you put it out, you're consistent, the audience will gravitate to you. The audience that rock with you will rock with you. And then you just got to make sure that you continue those relationships with those individuals.
Well said. Everybody, that's the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. Until next time,
Peace.
everybody be safe out there.